Welcome to part 2 of the PD on block scheduling. I hope you found some good resources and got some good notes to help you with your planning. But I want to really break it down and get into the nitty-gritty of why block scheduling is actually good for us. So what are the advantages for teachers? And where is this whole working harder, not smarter thing? Last year we all, probably not all, many of the content areas started seeing all these cell lessons popping into their curriculum. And while they're great and wonderful, there just was not enough time before to get everything in. They want us to do accommodations, scaffolding, reteaching, and in 65 or 45 or 75 minutes, you just don't have the same amount of time to get that stuff done. You can actually get through your curriculum with block scheduling, and you have time for extension and time to actually get the kids to clean up their room or clean up their materials and not be rushing at the last minute to get everything out the door. So how do you get the most out of this? You're going to plan your routine, and most days you're going to work from a pre-made template to help yourself have a routine to get through those 90 minutes effectively so that you're not spending the entire time talking and wearing yourself out and doing all the work. You'll have time built in and a routine built in to where the kids are getting to take some of that load off you, and you're actually getting into that gradual release model. You're going to plan your mini lesson. No more than 15 minutes. Otherwise, you're doing all the work, and that's not actually, you're not paid to do all the work. You're paid to teach kids. You're paid to get them to do some of the work, and that's the goal. So you're going to do that in order to make sure you have enough time to have some group work time so you can hit those T's. When I say I plan my mini lesson, I really plan it. I often record it and put it on YouTube like I do these videos. And there's a couple reasons why. If you have the same prep over and over again, it's great to not have to say the same thing, because by the end, you're really not saying it anymore. You're like, yeah, you guys have heard it all before. They haven't. Your other 3 classes heard it. And that's another good thing about block scheduling is you only have 3 a day. So that makes it a little bit easier. And the other thing is, again, if you know what you're saying and you have a clean, crisp 15-minute lesson, your kids are going to be more interested and more able to get into that group work that you've got planned and start doing some of that lift, that rereading, getting into those specific information and content that you're teaching in that mini lesson and getting it done. Now, there might be days where you have 2 lessons in one day. I know that's a popular thing that I've seen happen, and that's fine. So maybe your lesson's only 5 or 10 minutes for each of those things. And if that's the case, I definitely would have it scripted out and planned in some way, shape, or form. And let's be clear, I don't have this scripted out more than I have a little bit here. I'm going to open it up so you can see. You can see what it's not going to let me do it actually it did let me do it. So basically, you can see I have a little bit of notes down here, and that's it. It doesn't take a ton of time, but if you do it ahead of time, you're going to be in a much better space and not scrambling in the morning. You're going to look casual, drink your coffee, and be happy. Now, how do you actually get the kids to do the group work and take everything serious? You're going to have formatives in this form of exit tickets. Something that's closely linked to the standard has probably the same adjective as the standard in it. You're going to do this as much as possible. I literally have a formative like this every day. Do I always use them for data? No. But if you do that, if you get into that habit, it becomes so easy, and you wind up really being in a position where you can decide which days you're going to use and which days you're not going to use. And the next thing is you're going to front load. It is Tuesday, August 24th. I have an entire month of lesson plans that I put together basically today, using the curriculum, using materials that I've made before, and it's great. I know that I know what I'm doing every day of September, and it's freeing. And I promise you, if you get that work done now and you have those lesson plans done now, you're going to tweak them. You're going to change a couple words here and there. I promise It's not going to be crazy. You might have to extend a lesson for more than one day. Great, bump the lesson plan. Use it both days. And I'll show you my lesson plan book so you can get an idea of how this looks. But the more work you do up front for a block like this, and really for teaching in general, the better you're going to be in the long run, and the easier your life is going to be. Because all you're doing on the back end is grading, and not constantly trying to catch up. Now, how do I deal with these formatives when I want to use them as data? And I'm putting my hands up in air quotes, which you can't see. It's real easy. You're going to make 3 stacks. And I have ways of doing this digitally. If you're getting your work virtually or digitally, that will work. But this is generally how I do it. I take out 3 sticky notes. On one I put meet standard, on one I put approaching standard, and one I put below standard. And I write whatever I think that might look like given whatever the work is. Student, if I'm looking at, for instance, a writing convention on a rubric, and I'm trying to get my kids to use more effective mechanics. And I might say, meets standard, student, you regularly use commas correctly, use punctuation at the end of the sentence, capitalize, didn't have dangling, participles, blah, 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 blah. Approaching standard, often used commas, were not always correct, maybe didn't always have a period, capitalizations were probably on point, and then below, far below is misused multiple types of punctuation, mechanics were a little off, and it just wasn't good, right? And then I take all my work for a class period, and I just stack it up where it belongs. I look at it and stack it. And generally speaking, for a class of 25, it'll take me 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do this, not even. And at the end, I really just count up where they're all at and see where most of my kids were for the day. And I know I have data. I can actually track this if I want to, and I do want to, and I can talk to you about that if you're interested in that as well. And I know what the kids learned. Hopefully I know what I taught. Hopefully that's a day that I had a good mini lesson that I recorded, but I know what they learned. And I can go from there and figure out what it is I need to do to keep accelerating their knowledge. And it might just be simple as tweaking maybe it's a semantic issue. With tone and mood, often there's some sort of semantic issue. If you're teaching irony or something like that, and I know every content has its own version of this, you just said it in a way that the kids didn't quite understand it, and you just need to go over the definition of the term again in a different way tomorrow. Or maybe you need to put them in small groups. Maybe you have 4 or 5 kids who are putting commas in random places. Maybe you have 4 kids who are not using them at all. And during that small group time, which I often have, I basically plan to have them in 3 groups, 1 group doing Achieve 3000, 1 group working with me, and 1 group doing independent reading at least 2 or 3 times a week. And that's a T. That's part of what they're telling us to do, and it's not a huge lift once you get it planned. All right, so front-loading your work. What can you do today to make this a success? So the first thing you're going to do, and this is how I plan, you're going to look at your major assessments. You're going to put in some time for review in there. You're going to have a couple days where you have some chunks in your month where you know that you'll be able to make up and do reteaches or borrow from. You're going to set up that daily routine, and you're going to set up a regular assessment schedule and decide how many times a week you want to do formatives. At first, I decided I wanted to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I kept to that schedule. It worked for me. I feel like I don't have to do that as much anymore. I can be a little more flexible, but generally speaking, there's definitely one on Friday. Generally speaking, Monday and Wednesday, I'll also have something that I can measure. All right, and real quick, I want to show you what I've got going on. So bear with me for a hot second. So I've separated out here just the tabs that are what I use for planning, right? One is my Common Curriculum planning book. And as of right now, I have all my major assessments, my mid-unit, I have all my objectives in, I have all of my assessments in, and I'm really just filling in the blanks probably tomorrow at some point. so that literally everything's going to have a title. I could literally print out an entire month and be done. But I want to go ahead and look at a week so you can see kind of what one of my days looks like. And we'll do the Hippocratic Oath day. All right. So I'm going to change the view. This is a free tool, Common Curriculum. I beta tested for them a while ago, but it's a cool tool if you're trying to lesson plan more consistently. It gives you you can have a template with as much or as little in it as you want every day, and has all your standards. It's very easy to copy and paste to make an objective. This year I'm not putting in Bloom's levels. I should take that off my my template. So you can see here I have my standard. My objective students will be able to determine the central idea of the Hippocratic Oath and the Nuremberg Code by working on the concept of oath or code and annotating specific examples. And I'm far below standards because I don't have a period at the end of my sentence. All right. So you can see I have my mindfulness, my cell activity. That's part of my curriculum. I have my introduction to new materials. So I'm going to give them an anchor chart for the central idea and theme. We're going to update the table of contents in our, interactive notebooks. They're going to copy that anchor chart into their notebook. It's going to take them less than 2 minutes. It's very quick. And then I'm going to just walk around while they're doing that and help them make sure they're setting up their table of contents, because this is like the third day of school. And if you've ever done interactive notebooks where you have that table of contents and all your pages numbered, they're going to mess it up and if you're not diligent about making sure they're doing it right. And I'm happy to talk about those too if you want. The next thing that's going to happen, and you'll notice I don't have a very specific plan out in my lesson plan of what my direct instruction is going to be, but it's a YouTube of the Hippocratic Oath of me annotating just a small section of it and showing them how to do the annotation strategy. I'm just having them look for one thing, and I use Note and Notice for my, let me see if I can find it better. I use Note and Notice for my strategy, and this is nonfiction. So there's a couple different signposts for that. You can get the book, you can Google it, they come up. But the thing that I'm going to have them look for, and I realize there's no, oh, here we go. Let me see if I can make this big enough. I'm going to have them just look for word gaps, words that they don't know. It's the first week of school. I'm trying to get them warmed up. The Hippocratic Oath is not an easy a text to read. So that's where we're going to get started. All right, I think you get the point. And you'll see I have stations. So you're going to share your own annotations with a group member. I'm going to work with whatever group is doing that so I can watch their annotations and kind of jump in and help where I can and point out what kids are doing good, and just so I can see what they're doing. The other kids are going to do Achieve 3000, and then the third set are going to do an independent reading on the Nuremberg Code, where they're going to annotate it for that same signpost. So it's 25 minutes. It's about 8 minutes per, divide 20 by 3 plus a little bit of time for them to sort of change gears and for me to talk to them. And you'll see that, generally speaking, it works out. And I'm not making them move. I'm moving to the different group that's doing what they're, doing the thing that I'm working with. And the other two groups are just going to start doing the other two pieces of work with a little direction, but independently. And then, what are the core principles of modern ethics? So that gets back to that idea of the assessment being linked. So, I just pulled this out of the curriculum for this day. I might reword it to add in, can you determine the core principles of modern ethics instead of what are? But I don't know. I might not split that hair. All right. So, all right, you're going to see my whole PowerPoint again. And again, if you like this PowerPoint deck, you can have it and customize it in any way you want. So you guys are going to get a planning time block of about 20 minutes. There are sheets in your handout to help you get started. If you want to jump into Common Curriculum, you have your computer in front of you, great. Whatever you need to do to be effective and get some work done. I'll see you in about 20. or again, I won't see you.